Ready, go. You hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the base, you hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, speaker box jingling, RN 1010, got my spidey senses tingling. Ready, go. You hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the base, you hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, speaker box jingling, ready, go. You hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the base, you hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, speaker box jingling, RN 1010, got my spidey senses tingling. Ready, go. You hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the base, you hear the bass from the basement, coming from the basement, so high, wasted. Bass from the basement, back to the...
Hello people, I'm Josh Harris, Seagerswall. Just finished my workout and some interval sprint training. Now I'm gonna do some steady state cardio, but figured might as well record these videos while I'm doing it. Multitask. So, let's get to it. So last week we talked about energy balance, and this week we're gonna be talking about hunger. Commonly hear that somebody's starving. They say, oh, I'm starving, or I'm starved. They're probably not starving, because starvation is actually a very serious condition of malnutrition, and if prolonged, it'll lead to death. So it's just a phrase, an exaggeration. What they more likely mean, they're just really hungry. So it's important to me to understand hunger, especially after just talking about one's energy balance, to understand hunger and satiety and appetite. Those are important factors to understand when it comes to understanding nutrition as a whole, meal planning. So let's get into it. Hunger, when you don't have any food in your stomach and it's already been processed by your small intestine, what's gonna happen is your stomach's gonna actually physically contract. And also a hormone is gonna get released called ghrelin. And combined with the empty stomach, those contractions, no food in your stomach, combined with that hormone, is gonna tell your body that you need food again, that you're hungry. That's where that comes from. So it's hunger is a physiological response, okay? Hunger is commonly confused with appetite. Appetite is a whole nother beast. The interesting part about appetite is that it can be accompanied by hunger or without hunger. And that means to say, and I mean to say that as in, you may be hungry, that's why it triggers your appetite, or you could just have a large appetite. It could be triggered by multiple influences. According to Sizer and Whitney, some of those influences to trigger your appetite would be smell, sight, touch, obviously taste, and even a mental response, like a memory to, or a cultural response, like it's in your culture to, do X, Y, and Z, or mentally you associate being here with eating this, so it just triggers your appetite. You might not even necessarily be hungry. So appetite can be with or without hunger, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. In a nutshell, if you wanted to boil it down, hunger would be the good guy. It's completely natural. And appetite, that would more so be the villain. Our bodies do have a natural response to keep our appetite in check, and that's by leptin. It's produced by the adipose tissue of the body, and it's in direct proportion to body fat. Overall, leptin operates on a feedback system. So a gain in body fat body fatness, would stimulate leptin production, therefore decreasing food consumption. And then of course, vice versa, a loss in body fatness would decrease leptin production, therefore stimulating one's appetite. Also, many of you might have already experienced this with different types of diets, but your hunger level, that physiological response, it can be changed. And if you want to experiment with it, try eating smaller meals over a course of, let's say, a week or so, or a couple days. You'll find after the couple days where you do feel really hungry, but after those couple days or so, it'll pass. You won't feel very hungry anymore, even with those smaller meals. Now, that also comes with a caveat, because eventually that hunger will catch back up with you, especially if you didn't calculate your energy balance and you made a drastic cut in caloric intake. And eventually that hunger is gonna catch back up with you, and it's gonna come at you with a vengeance. And that's the reason why a lot of crash diets, or a lot of diets that just cut calories right off the top, right off the beginning, don't even factor in exercise. That's why a lot of those diets are referred to as crash diets, because that hunger comes back, you just fall off the wagon. Hunger does have a natural response to keep that in check too, and it's satiety and satiation. Hard words, weird words. Satiety is that feeling that you get when you're really full, and it's that prolonged feeling after a meal. So you eat a meal, it's that fullness afterwards for the next couple of hours, or however long you still feel full for. Satiation is that feeling that tells you to stop, that you are full. So you eat, some spaghetti or something, you get 10 bites in, that would be that feeling of fullness. So it tells you to stop eating. You don't need to eat anymore, you're full. However, in comparison, satiety and satiation are weaker, I guess you could say, than hunger. The hit points. Hit points are, first one, number one, understanding the difference between hunger and an appetite is important. You need to be able to recognize that in yourself. Whether it's a physiological response, you're actually hungry, you need nutrition now to function, to stay awake, to do an activity, whatever. Or if it's just your appetite. If you just smell something, all of a sudden your appetite gets triggered and now you want a pizza. Or you see something in a commercial, now you want Burger King, something like that. So you need to recognize the difference in yourself between hunger and your appetite. Hit point number two, listen to your body. Listen to more so satiation. When you feel full, stop eating. Be self-aware. We live in a time where our portion sizes are larger than in the past. Say in the 1950s, 1940s, we get a lot more. It may not seem like it, but there's a lot more food on our plate now. And we come under I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but we come under the impression that we need to finish all the food in front of us. And for some of us, that might be our goal. We might be in an eating competition, whatever, or be trying to go into a caloric surplus. But if that's not the case for you, listen to your body. Be self-aware and listen to your body. When it tells you it's full, be done with it. Save it, wrap it up, put it in the freezer, do whatever, throw it out if you must. Hit point number three, exercise your willpower. I talk a lot about this whole person concept, this lifestyle change, fitness being a lifestyle. And you can't only exercise your willpower physically, to get up out of bed or get to the gym on a regular basis. You need to do that mentally too, especially when it comes to food. You need to exercise your willpower. Do you really need to be eating that? You got to ask yourself these questions, and you need to put yourself in check. So willpower, exercise your mind along with your body. Hit point number four, make meals that cater to satiety. So what that means is make meals that will leave you feeling fuller for a longer period of time. Now, the definite conclusive evidence on what macronutrient leaves you feeling fullest for the longest period of time, jury's still out on that, but a reasonable amount of information, especially according to Sizer and Whitney, says that a increased amount of protein in a meal will leave you feeling fuller for longer. So increased protein would then equal increased satiety. And point number 5, wrapping up the video, don't wait until you're hungry to make a decision about food. Now, whether that means wait until you're hungry to decide whether you want to go into the kitchen and cook, or go out to a restaurant, or wait until you're hungry and then decide to go grocery shopping. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but my mom definitely taught me, never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. It's a bad idea. You start buying all sorts of crap you don't want, or you want it, but you don't need it. So don't wait until you're hungry to seek out food. That also goes right along with meal planning. We'll get more into that later. That wraps up all my hit points, puts the whole video in a nutshell for you. But hopefully y'all could hear me on this treadmill. I'm just really trying to multitask, trying to do my workouts and the videos at the same time, just trying to cut down on that gym time, how long I'm in here for. Hopefully, like I said, you can hear me. If you can't, give me some feedback, let me know. If you like the video, give it a like, give it a share, and ask me questions. You know, any questions I get asked that I don't know, that improves my knowledge, helps me out, and I can help you out. So it's a win-win. Anyway, that's all the information I have for the video. I'm Josh Harris, Seeger Swole. I'm out.
Are you okay?